Hi, welcome to NSDEE's Transfer Files and Open Remote File Tools video. NSDEE can build applications residing on both local desktop and on remote non-stop machine. NSDEE helps us to transfer local files and folder to remote non-stop machine using the Transfer Files dialog. It also supports opening a remote file using the Open Remote File tool. Let's first have a look at the Transfer Files tool. The Transfer Files wizard transfers one or more project files to a location on the Nonstop system. You can use the Transfer Files wizard to transfer a single file, multiple files, or all files contained in a project, including executable and object files. You can access Transfer Files wizard either from Export, HP Nonstop Development, Transfer Files, or from Nonstop Tools. You can select Transfer Files under it. In the Transfer Files wizard, the Projects drop-down lists all the open local projects in the workspace. You can select any project irrespective of what your earlier selection in the workspace was. Once the project is selected, all the directories and their files will be shown in the below boxes. Selecting a directory will show all the files in that directory. You can also use the filter to show files filtered by file extension. You also have an option to select all or unselect all the files for transferring. As part of the destination system information, you can select the remote nonstop system to which you wish to transfer the files. You can also configure a new remote system and username using the Edit button, which will take you to the Configure Connections dialog. For more information on how to configure connections, check out the video on Configure Tools and Configure Connections. You can also select the platform, be it OSS or Guardian. We will have to provide the location where the files need to be transferred. Alternatively, you can browse to this location. You can also set some criteria for transferring these files. Overwrite existing remote files. What this means is, when we transfer remote files, if some files with the same name exist on the remote location, then those files will be overwritten with the newly transferred files. Transfer only if modified locally since previous transfer. Using this option, if a file has been already transferred to the nonstop machine earlier, then it will only be transferred if the file has been modified after the last transfer. The third option, copy all files to OSS destination without creating subdirectories, is applicable only for OSS. Hence, it will be disabled for Guardian. Now, you can see this option being enabled. This option, when selected, will not create the directory hierarchy. Create and transfer obey file that maps source location for inspect. This option creates a obey file for all the source files and transfers this file also to the remote system, along with the other files. Obey file is one that you can use with native inspect to map Windows location of source files to the locations where you transferred those files. This enables Native Inspect to find the sources for the programs compiled on Windows. Let's now transfer the file without any options being enabled. The file has been transferred to the location we mentioned. Now, let's try transferring files with some options enabled. Let's first bring up the wizard. Let's transfer all the files in this project this time. For the options, let's select Copy all files to OSS directories without creating subdirectories option and transfer only if modified since previous transfer. Now let's click on Finish. Files are getting transferred. Since we haven't modified hello-world.c file after the last transfer and enabled option to transfer only if modified since previous transfer, the file has not been transferred. And the message skipping hello-world.c not modified since last transfer, deselect transfer only if modified checkbox to transfer even if not modified is shown in the console. You can also use this tool to transfer Java objects. Similar to a project deploy, it can be used for running nonstop Java application on remote nonstop after building it on a local desktop. Sample Java is a local Java project which has been built. Now let's try transferring it to the remote nonstop machine. Let's just transfer the binaries, the class files here. Provide the remote location. Disable all the options and click Finish. And there, it has been transferred, ready to be run on nonstop. Let's see what happens if we have some network issue or we do not have the right permissions to transfer. It should throw appropriate error. Let's provide a location here that does not have enough permission. Now let's click Finish and see what happens. It shows an error window. Let's see what it says in the console. It says that the file is not transferred with the permission denied message. Similarly, errors will be thrown for all network-related issues. If we invoke this tool when no projects are there in the workspace, it throws an error saying it requires at least one local nonstop or Java project that is open. This brings us to the end of Transfer Files Wizard demo. Now, let's have a look at the Open Remote File tool. The Open Remote File dialog lets you open a file residing on a remote nonstop system so you can edit the file in NSDEE. You can access this tool from Nonstop Tools menu. This is the Open Remote File tool dialog. Here you can select the platform on which the file exists. You can select the remote machine and username where the remote file is, or configure the remote machine using the Edit button. Give the remote file location or browse to it. Select the editor to be associated with this file. This selection is much needed in case of Guardian files which does not have extensions based on which the tool could guess the file type. Since my file is a C file, I will select a C editor. Click on the Open button to open the file. Now the file sample C is open in Eclipse Editor. When NSDEE opens the file, it downloads and opens a cached local copy. Each time you save the local copy, NSDEE uploads the file to the nonstop system. Let's try to make some changes to this file. Save and close the file. Now let's try opening it again to see if the change that we made is reflected in the file. It shows the updated file. NSDEE also detects and reports issues should your local copy become out of sync with a remote file. Open Remote File has another feature. It stores the history of last 10 files that have been opened. You can see the last 10 files that I have opened using this tool. When I select one of these files, the rest of the fields, including the system, the platform, and the editor type, are updated automatically. You can see that the system information, editor, and all are updated. Let's open this file. The file is opened in COBOL editor. When we try to open a file which does not exist, then the tool lets you create it. Let's give a file name that does not exist at this location. Now when we try to open this file, it prompts us asking if we want to create the file. In my case, I would say yes. An empty file has been opened with this name. The same file will be created in the remote location. Let's see how it behaves when we try to open a file over which we do not have the needed permissions. This file does not have the read permission. So when I try to open this file, it shows that read permission is denied and the file is not shown. Similar errors could be found when you also hit network issues. With this, we come to the end of this video on transfer files and open remote file tools. Watch out for more videos on NSDEE. Thank you.